Man who served under Walz says governor retired before unit head deployment news, as Tim Walz's military record under scrutiny as he joins Kamala Harris on Democratic ticket. Harris-Walz camouflage Midwest princess hat reaches nearly $1 million in Man who served under Walz says governor retired before unit head deployment news, as Tim Walz's military record under scrutiny as he joins Kamala Harris on Democratic ticket. Harris-Walz camouflage Midwest princess hat reaches nearly $1 million in sales a day after release. Trump and Harris to debate on ABC. Trump says he wants two more. UAW endorses Kamala Harris for president, ahead of mass rally in Detroit. Trump falsely accuses Harris of deciding to turn black during a combative panel with black journalists. Kamala Harris exclaims, "I've got a secret photo of her on Trump Force One."
Colorado clerk, who became hero to election conspiracists, wanted to preserve data, lawyer says. White dudes for Harris founders blame Elon Musk for X account suspension.
Chuck Schumer unveils bill to axe Supreme Court's Trump immunity ruling. Trump promises lower interest rates, but the president doesn't control those. TASS reports that Trump closes gap on Harris in latest poll, two are neck and neck, and Washington Times reports that, for first time, Harris leads Trump in 2024 election betting odds, and Kamala Harris pledges to sign border bill that
Trump says he will do interview with Elon Musk on Monday, 12th of August, night. Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump in more than a dozen national polls. Harris versus Trump race is first since 1976 without a Bush, Clinton, or Biden.
Most Americans oppose sending U.S. troops to defend Israel, poll finds. IDF confirms woman listed as missing since October 7 was killed during attack. Reportedly, race riots put Britain on collision course with Elon Musk.
FBI seizes Republican Representative Ogle's cell phone in funding probe. Rudy Giuliani agrees to deal to end his bankruptcy case, pay creditors' financial advisor $400,000. Former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis to cooperate in Arizona fake electors case, charges to be dropped.
First speech as VP candidate. Reportedly, Donald Trump repeats baseless claim that Justin Trudeau could be the son of Fidel Castro. Yusha Vance defends husband's childless cat lady's comment as a quip in first solo interview.
Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz just kicked off their campaign in Philadelphia, and Kamala Harris video shows moment she asked Tim Walz to be her running mate. J.D. Vance called Tim Walz a San Francisco-style liberal. Walz visited the city for the first time last month. While Vance lived there for years, Trump campaign criticizes Walz for state law providing tampons in schools.
South Korea logs biggest current account since 2017 on AI demand and reportedly declaring crisis. South Korean firms tell managers to work 6 days a week. German factory orders rise first time this year on cars, metals. Chinese battery industry faces consolidation wave.
Japan's $1.1 trillion stock meltdown rewrote the record books, and Bank of Japan's Uchida says no rate hike when financial markets unstable. Japan hedge funds post best single-day performance. Goldman says Japan spent $68 billion to prop up yen twice in second quarter, as Japan likely sold foreign securities to fund FX intervention.
9th anniversary of Nagasaki bombing, and G7 ambassadors to miss Nagasaki atomic bomb memorial over Israel's exclusion. Saudi Arabia says Hamas leader's killing was blatant violation of Iran's sovereignty. U.S. bans imports from 5 more Chinese companies over Uyghur forced labor allegations.
Israel PM's office announced Israel will attend August 15 talks to finalize the details for implementing deal. Qatar, Egypt, U.S. invite Israel and Hamas to resume Gaza ceasefire talks. Hostage and ceasefire deal talks stall over new Netanyahu demands, Israeli officials say, as Netanyahu to reject deal releasing all hostages if it doesn't end Hamas control of Gaza.
European Commission announces hot-rolled coil anti-dumping investigation into Egypt, India, Japan, and Vietnam. U.S. tops China as Germany's biggest trading partner. Japan's automakers lose market share in China and Thailand as EVs spread.
In Germany, Bundestag sees no issue with Ukraine using Leopards on Russian territory. Natural enemies China and Russia brought together by U.S. Democratic leaders, says Donald Trump. Putin signs law allowing foreign banks to open branches in Russia. 11 years ago, Putin signs law banning opening of foreign bank branches in Russian Federation.
Roblox banned from Turkey for causing abuse of children following an Instagram blackout. A TikTok ban may be next. Venezuela's Maduro blocks X access in country for 10 days. YouTube no longer opens in Russian desktop browsers.
A new report finds Boeing's rockets are built with an unqualified workforce, and NASA says Boeing Starliner astronauts may fly home on SpaceX in 2025. Cybersecurity firm Trend Micro explores sale, sources say. Petrobras reports 2.6 billion Brazilian reals loss in Q2. Company will pay 13.57 billion Brazilian reals in dividends. Wall Street sees end of Fed's quantitative tightening this year. JP Morgan raises odds of U.S. recession by year-end to 35%. Warren Buffett now owns more T-bills than the Federal Reserve. Reuters reports, Khaled Meshal, who survived Israeli assassination attempt, tipped to be new Hamas leader. Israeli army commanders gave order to blow up Rafah reservoir. IDF suspects breach of international law. Malaysia PM, Anwar slams Meta after Facebook removes post on Hamas's Haniya.
At 30th round of talks on border dispute, China and India agree to speed up negotiations. Brazil to take custody of Argentine embassy in Venezuela, announced Milei. German president asks Poles for forgiveness on Warsaw Uprising 80th anniversary.
EU calls for maximum restraint after Hamas leader Ismail Haniya's assassination. US, UK, France block UN condemnation of attack on Iran's embassy in Syria. Erdogan calls Israel's actions genocide in phone call with Pope Francis. Russia must be present at next peace summit to end war, Zelensky says. TASS reports that UFC's Barroso puts fighting skills to use training Russian soldiers in special ops zone. Top Russian senator says no way new territories going back to Ukraine, and Volodymyr Zelensky says giving up Ukrainian territories is a very, very difficult question.
Israel says it has confirmed that chief of Hamas military wing was killed in a July strike in Gaza. Iran's leader orders attack on Israel for Haniya killing, officials say. Reuters reports, Turkey blocks NATO and Israel cooperation over Gaza war, as sources say. Southport was just the spark. UK hit by unrest as far-right exploits knife attack tragedy. Police unit to be set up to tackle violence across UK. In wake of riots after Southport stabbings, recently, UK rocked by far-right riots fueled by online disinformation about Southport stabbings. And more than 100 arrested in London, as violence flares after Southport stabbings. One day ago, 17-year-old boy charged with murder of 3 girls after stabbing at Taylor Swift-themed event in Southport. English Defence League could be prescribed as terror organization, suggests UK Home Office Secretary Rayner. Nigeria bid to avoid Kenya-style dissent dampens protest turnout, as security forces fire tear gas as anti-government protests break out across Nigeria. At least 16 reported dead as Maduro meets Venezuelan protests with force, and I will carry you to Gitmo on a donkey, Elon Musk tells Venezuela's Maduro, as they battle it out online. And U.S. arrests a former Green Beret over the failed 2020 raid into Venezuela to remove Maduro. Venezuela's Maduro, opposition each claim presidential victory.
Iran buries senior Hamas official, as Israel braces for revenge, and China firmly opposes, condemns assassination of Hamas leader, announced by spokesperson. U.S. deploys 12 warships in Middle East amid rising tensions, reported by Washington Post, as the U.S. and British warships assemble off the coast, as Israel and Hezbollah crisis mounts. Reportedly, bombs smuggled into Tehran guest house months ago killed Hamas leader. Nobel laureate Yunus will head Bangladesh's interim government after unrest ousted Hasina. US revokes Sheikh Hasina's visa after Bangladesh ouster, as former PM seeks asylum in the West, and reportedly, former Bangladeshi Prime Minister considers several countries for asylum. Attempting to flee country, 2 former Bangladesh ministers detained at Dhaka airport. In major reshuffle in Bangladesh Army, Major General Zia sacked. Bangladeshi former PM Begum Khaleda Zia, other oppositionists freed from prisons.
Hamas names Yahya Sinwar, mastermind of the October 7th attacks, as its new leader in show of defiance. Antony Blinken warns Iran and Israel not to escalate conflict in Middle East. Putin asks Iran to avoid civilian casualties in Israel response, sources say.
Maduro calls Venezuelans to delete WhatsApp in growing crackdown, and with Zionism behind this, after disputed election result, Maduro blames Jews for Venezuelan crises. Chinese-American posing as pro-democracy activist, spied on dissidents for Beijing, the plot of a spy novel. Russia detains Italian man for flying a drone near the Kremlin.
Hezbollah leader says group will respond but keeping Israelis waiting is part of punishment. Israeli minister says it may be moral to starve 2 million Gazans, but no one in the world would let us. Pakistan announces intention to supply arms to Iran at OIC meeting, claimed in a report 5 days ago. Iran, Pakistan call meeting of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, after Hamas leader killed. Moscow says Ukraine has launched cross-border attack inside Russia. Reportedly, Ukraine had a chance to blow up Russia's best warplanes on the tarmac. The White House said no, and now it's too late. It has been reported as Russia cannot launch a summer offensive this year.
In the U.S., Pakistani national with ties to Iran charged in connection to a foiled assassination plot potentially targeting Trump. U.S. neo-Nazi terror group aims to revive activities ahead of election. Reportedly, U.S. and China fentanyl cooperation deepens as Beijing tightens controls for precursor chemicals.
In Battle of Kursk 2.0, German armored vehicles are rolling into Kursk again after more than 80 years. Ukraine stuns Russia. In Germany, AfD and BSW heat things up in the east. Anti-Ukraine sentiment is growing.
South Korea could take years to rebuild spy networks after leak exposes undercover agents. 10 days ago, South Korea arrests official over alleged data leak exposing spies, as claimed in reports. Previously, South Korea reports leak from its Military Intelligence Command. Canadian North Korea expert UN official detained in Switzerland on espionage charges.
Israel detains soldiers on allegations of sexual assault of a detainee from Gaza. Turkey formally asks to join the genocide case against Israel at the UN court. Norway warns Israel of harming diplomatic ties with Oslo, and EU say Israel revoking Norwegian diplomat status unwarranted, not helpful. Recently, Israel cancels accreditation of Norwegian diplomats to Palestinian areas.
The Global Alliance for Responsible Media is discontinuing after Elon Musk's ex filed an antitrust lawsuit against it, as advertisers axe corporate responsibility scheme after lawsuit from Musk's ex. 3 days ago, Musk's ex sues Unilever, Mars and CVS over massive advertiser boycott. Montreal man wants to sue social media platforms for being too addictive. Meta and Google secretly targeted minors on YouTube with Instagram ads.
Mexico rejects Ukraine's request to arrest Russia's Putin during visit. UN official says 95% of Ukrainian soldiers in Russian captivity face torture. Former intelligence agent Ritter says FBI searched his home because of ties to RT, Sputnik. 1 year ago, it had been reported as Russia uses former UN weapons inspectors Ukraine misinformation for domestic propaganda. Reportedly, Tim Walz's net worth is less than the average American's. Joe Rogan says he supports RFK Jr. over Trump, Harris. Trump took a private flight with Project 2025 leader in 2022.
Trump says abortion's not a big factor in elections anymore. Evangelical leaders call out danger as prophets tie God to Donald Trump. Arizona grand jurors discussed indicting Trump, but prosecutors urge them not to.
Freezer full of roadkill meat. Catalonia former leader Puigdemont returns to Spain despite arrest warrant, and Catalan separatist Puigdemont heads for Belgium after dodging arrest in Spain, party says. Brazil and Nicaragua cut ties over Ortega's persecution of clergy, as Brazil, Nicaragua expel each other's ambassadors.
Crypto leaders demand Gary Gensler's removal in White House meeting. Donald Trump Jr. is launching a crypto platform to take on the banks. Japan's top finance regulator hesitant on crypto ETF approvals.
Lloyd's of London-backed insurance policies can now be paid for in crypto on Ethereum. Crypto.com surpasses Coinbase in trading volume as institutional demand grows. Terra blockchain halts operations after suspected exploit of Astroport tokens. ASTRO tanks 60%.
The Bahamas dares, again 1.5 years after FTX collapse, brings in new crypto law. UAE-based G42 working with US to meet AI standards amid China concerns. England's Law Commission proposes new property category for crypto assets. Tether nets $5 billion profits this year, says its US debt holdings surpass Germany's. Ripple to allocate $10 million to tokenized US Treasury bills on XRP Ledger. Popular, Simon's Cat, to join Cat Coin fray with issuance on Floki Launchpad.
See in July, data show. Nvidia becoming more volatile than Bitcoin and Ether. Montenegro to extradite Do Kwon to South Korea, rejecting US request.
Online brokerage Photo offers crypto trading in Hong Kong with Nvidia, Alibaba stock as reward. Bitcoin miner Riot posts $84 million quarterly loss as post-halving era bites. The Philippines chooses Venom for groundbreaking national blockchain initiative.
Over $2.5 billion in crypto positions liquidated in 7 days. Reportedly, crypto market hits extreme fear, surpassing FTX collapse lows, and Bitcoin whales increased holdings during crypto market mayhem, but ETF investors didn't buy the dip. Hedge fund giant Capula reports owning $464 million in spot Bitcoin ETF shares. BlackRock and Nasdaq seek rule change to list options on spot Ethereum ETFs. Post-Wazax's hack, India's CoinDCX starts investor protection fund with $6 million. Hong Kong virtual bank Mox starts Bitcoin, Ether ETF trading, plans direct crypto trading, and Hong Kong rules out more virtual banks, citing need for healthy development of sector. Binance challenges $86 million Indian tax show cause notice, claimed by source.
Experience. FTX, Alameda ordered to pay $12.7 billion to creditors by U.S. judge. Google to implement web monetization in Chrome for micropayments for content.
Russia legalizes crypto mining and brings an experimental regime. U.S. policy group proposes Bitcoin tax-free zone for digital economy growth. Brazil grants approval to world's first spot Solana ETF. Zelensky signs law on suspending Ukraine's external debt payments. U.S. and Russia complete biggest prisoner swap in post-Soviet history, freeing Gershkovich and Whelan. Lufthansa Group suspends flights to Tel Aviv, Beirut.
Former Penn State fraternity leaders plead guilty in 2017 obstacle course, hazing death of Timothy Piazza. 14 sex buyers arrested, 10 victims recovered in human trafficking sting at Comic-Con.
Guinea court sentences former junta leader to 20 years in prison over 2009 stadium massacre. Jakarta court jails former Garuda chief over new graft case. Venezuelan Attorney General says protesters use ketchup to simulate blood as NGOs report at least 11 dead, as Venezuelan opposition chief calls to mobilize to collect win. Accused September 11th plotters agree to plead guilty at Guantanamo Bay. Bangladesh bans Jamaat-e-Islami Party following violent protests that left more than 200 dead. Islamic State in Mozambique more active, sophisticated, UN warns. EU and Ukraine dismiss Hungary oil scare, saying transit is fine. Ukrainian politician says US wants to replace Zelensky with Budanov. US moves tanks and infantry fighting vehicles from Germany to base in Poland.
Through locations in 2024, with a future vision to bring the technology to its brand's drive-thrus around the world. Google brings Gemini-powered search history and lens to Chrome desktop, and Google announces Gemma 2, a compact parameter-size model based on the large-scale language model Gemma 2, Shield Gemma, which filters the input and output of AI models, and Gemmascope, a model interpretation tool.
In the US, former Syrian prison official charged with immigration fraud about his time running a Syrian prison where prisoners, including political dissidents, were physically mistreated. DNA on weapons implicates former U.S. Green Beret in attempted Venezuelan coup, federal officials say. U.S. federal judge again dismisses Mexico's lawsuit against most gun manufacturers. 1 out of every 15 Americans is a millionaire, UBS says. Undocumented immigrants in U.S. pay nearly $100 billion in taxes. 85% of good jobs in 2031 will require post-secondary education, report finds. 2025 Ford Maverick gets AWD hybrid, bigger screen, and tremor trim. Nissan teases new Patrol, Armada, Murano, and mystery small SUV. Stellantis CEO Tavares says, U.S. plants building too many vehicles that need rework.
State battery for EVs with 600 miles range, as it teases 9 minutes charging and 20 years lifespan tech. Uber teams up with China's BYD to offer 100,000 discounted EVs for drivers in Europe and Latin America.
In the UK, Royal Fleet Auxiliary officers to strike for first time in history. In the US, the Army bet $11 million on the ROC and UFL ginning up enlistments. It may have actually hurt recruiting efforts. Canadian military encounters Chinese research vessel in Arctic, warns competitors are probing infrastructure.
Record maple syrup harvest not enough, as Quebec eyes bigger bounty. India's import duty cut sparks revival of gold demand, just in time for the wedding season. EU issues UK with list of demands, if it wants better relationship.
Peru returns to global markets with first Eurobond since 2021. Greece's unemployment rate drops to 9.6% and 8%, fall under Mitsotakis' reign. In the UK, first-time buyers spending 40% of pay on mortgages, and Bank of England cuts rates from 16 years high, will be careful on next moves.
Wendy's cuts sales guidance as U.S. diner traffic declines. Shake Shack soars on call for first positive cash since 2017. Weight Watchers to cut jobs, spending as business declines.
Glencore's billionaire former oilhead, charged with corruption by UK, Nancy Pelosi loads up on more Nvidia shares, sells part of Microsoft's stake before Q4 earnings. Boeing taps Kelly Ortberg, former Rockwell Collins head, as new CEO. Interpol recovers $41 million in largest ever BEC scam in Singapore. FTC sends nearly $1.9 million in refunds to customers harmed by Hey Dude's violations of the mail order rule. Bloomberg gives $600 million to 4 black medical schools endowments. 7 U.S. personnel injured in Monday rocket attack at Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq, including 2 evacuated for further care. Israeli hospitals declare themselves prepared for mass casualty events. Strikes on Israel to come from Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, claims Hezbollah leader. European Parliament calls on EU countries to provide weapons for Ukrainian F-16 fighter jets. Russia sends Iran air defense systems as fears of regional war loom. Reported by NYT. Russia says forces repel Ukrainian armored raid in Kursk region.
Italian fighters scrambled over Baltic Sea to intercept Russian aircraft. Zelensky confirms contracts for producing over 1M drones in 2024. EU governments give green light to €4.2 billion payout to Ukraine. X is closing San Francisco headquarters and relocating staffers to San Jose and shared space with X.AI in Palo Alto, CEO Linda Yaccarino says in leaked email, as Elon Musk says no choice but for X to shut San Francisco HQ. X and Rumble file antitrust complaint against Global Ad Group. Airbnb details plans to expand beyond short-term rentals, including co-hosting and relaunching experiences.
Reeves's first moves may undercut growth plan, and £50 billion more public spending needed each year for long-term growth, claims the think tank. Bloomberg reports that Chinese students are paying agents $50,000 for finance jobs as markets hours.
Mazda quietly ditched key fob remote start for subscription app. 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe recalled, hit with stop sale order over airbags. The Ram 1500 Classic will finally die after 17 years in production.
Canadian embassy in Israel to reportedly evacuate families of diplomats. Berlin student found guilty of incitement for chanting "From the river to the sea" at pro-Palestine rally. Israeli rights group, B'Tselem, says government torturing Palestinian prisoners.
In the UK, PM says communities will be safe in face of riots. Far-right groups plan to target homes in attack on lawyers, police told. UK probes whether state actors stoked far-right riots.
Insider trading. In South Africa, 8 shot dead, 5 arrested in sting operation on planned cash-in-transit robbery in Cape Town. More than $1 million worth of cocaine washes up on Florida beach after Hurricane Debbie.
Banks poised to seize more buildings in Hong Kong. PE says, Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific to buy more than 100 aircraft as part of $100 billion Hong Kong dollars investment.